charge of my life and find the peace inside me. Within these walls, we love and work and play, finding joy along the way. And now I want to stay within these walls.
Oh, that was hot.
These walls, my thoughts would pull me down. I wouldn't look around to see that love surrounds me. Within these walls, friends now gather here, and laughter fills the air. It's all that I was wanting. I've tried before to do it on my own. Now I found a way to make a home. Within these walls, I have learned to fly, to take charge of my life, to find the peace inside me. Within these walls, we love and work and play, finding joy along the way. And now I want to stay within these walls.
I love that song. That's just a beautiful song. So get your tea. I was going to plant some more. I've got the pots ready, but I'm not going to plant them just yet. Not going to do it just yet. I got a lot of things done this morning and this afternoon. But I think I'm going to leave some stuff to do tomorrow. And I've got 3 good planting days, and I'm excited about it. And I've got lots of seeds to plant, and I'm really happy about my garden. I really am. It's going to be a mainly a container garden, but I'm going to put some stuff in the dirt. Yep. Y'all don't know this about me, but I used to be a farmer. Honestly, I did. When my stepfather passed away, I was left in charge of taking care of a 1,500-acre soybean and wheat farm. And it was a tough job, but I learned to do a lot of things. And when you have as Scott Adams says, a talent stack of, I could take a water pump out of an old Chevrolet truck and put it in a combine if I had to. So you learn and you do and you make do with what you've got, and you get through things. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our abundance. And right now we're not feeling very bountiful because a lot of us don't have jobs right now, and a lot of us are struggling, and I know you are. But it's when we have little, when we give what we can, or all we have, is when we are blessed the most. So when you're at your least monetarily, and you give of yourself, and you give of your time, and you give of what money you have, then you become blessed. And blessed in ways like giving of, we all have so much clutter in our lives. And when we can put things out by the curb and put a free sign on them, when we can put a free sign on them and bless someone else, we don't have to know where it's going. We don't have to find. A lot of times our perfectionism takes over, and we won't donate things because we don't think it's going to the right place. But when we can bless others with our abundance, whether it's in clutter, or right now we have an abundance of time. We have an abundance of time, and We have members who are making masks for folks. They've found a pattern online and they're folding the little pleats and using their stash of fabric that they've had for years. When we can give of ourselves, of our time, of our clutter, and bless others, that is when we are blessed the most. Now, if we hoard it, God will quit sending you blessings. But when we put it out there and bless someone else with it, let's think about the miracle of the loaves and the fishes. Remember that story from the Bible that Jesus was preaching and he asked out in the audience of 5,000, has anybody got any food with them? And one little boy had 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And I think about those 5 loaves of bread that his mother had baked. Little loaves of sourdough bread. Little loaves of sourdough bread. And Jesus took those 2 fish and those 5 loaves and fed everybody. 5,000 people. Fed 5,000 people. I guess that was the first mega church, you know? And when you think about that small amount, and that little boy gave everything he had. Everything he had. And it got multiplied time and time and time again. And everyone was fed. And think about the widow who gave 2 mites, 2 little coins, probably less than a penny, but she gave all she had. She gave it all. So when we can give what we can, even if it's just a little bit, it comes back to you. Many years ago, and I've actually gotten this fortune cookie twice, and this fortune cookie is biblical. It said, the fortune cookie said, when you continually give, you will continually have. And then after Fly Lady started, I got that fortune cookie right when Fly Lady started. And, you know, I used to I would do once a week show. And then I went several years and I didn't do a radio show. And then I started doing once a day after watching Scott Adams and seeing how I felt watching his show every day. And I don't really watch it, I listen to it. When I saw how I felt with that, I realized that y'all were feeling the same way. I don't know why you want to listen to me, but guess what? I'm willing to give of my time and upload things to YouTube and upload things to iTunes podcast so that you can fill your head with good stuff. That I can lift you up and build you up. So because you give to so many in your home. You give to we got a great testimonial today from a lady who was blessing her father by going to his house and helping him in his home after his wife had passed away, her mom. And she put on some fun music and she flitted around the house with her feather duster and it made him laugh. And she was able to bring him simple joy in finding joy in everything you do. That's the one thing I learned from St. Therese, reading her autobiography, The Little Way. She said she could never be some saint. She never expected to be a saint because she was never going to go to foreign countries and preach the gospel. She was never going to do that. But she found a way to bring joy to the nuns in her convent who were suffering from tuberculosis. And she she gave of herself in a loving way. She would help them to get food, to go to the dining room to eat. She would laugh at their jokes. They would splash each other when they were doing laundry, and they would bring joy to other people. Bringing joy to other people is such a blessing that you can do. It's little things. So learning to give of yourself, whether it's clutter, it's your time, it's, coming on and doing a little podcast for your family members to tell them how much you love them. I mean, we can do that with Facebook now. We can do lots of things. And we have become this society that can reach out and touch one another just by being on Facebook. Now, sometimes I get upset with Facebook because things don't work like it's supposed to all the time. But when you plant your garden, you'll have an abundance of food to bless other people. You'll have an abundance of just getting out and getting in a sunbeam and cultivating your garden, and just thinking about how wonderful it's going to be to have squash. Do you know how long it's been since I have cooked any squash? I love squash. And I make the best squash casserole you have ever eaten. And I'll give you the recipe. But the secret is steaming the squash. And then you can make these casseroles with this abundance. And you can make some breadcrumbs to go on top. It's just amazing what you can do when you just think about when you have been given an abundance. You can bless others with your abundance. So learning to bless others. My nose is itching. Learning to bless others. Some people don't know that there is an alarm on their phone. There's a clock on their phones, and if you touch that clock, you can set different alarms. And I have alarms all during the day that remind me to do things, or remind me that Scott Adams is coming on, or that other people I listen to. Recipe for squash casserole. This squash casserole was from a lady in my woman's club back when I lived in Tiptonville, Tennessee. And her name was Emily Lewis. And I think Miss Emily's still living. And she would steam her squash with onions and with little grated carrots. So she'd put them in the steamer basket and she'd steam them. And then she would smash all the moisture out of them. And then she would layer that. She would take a can of cream of mushroom soup. Leanne, don't listen. Don't listen, Leanne. Can of cream of mushroom soup and a tub of sour cream, and mix that together. And she would layer that, do a layer of squash and a layer of that, and back and forth and back and forth. And then she'd top it with cheese and some breadcrumbs and crumbs. And it was just, she would also put some Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix in it. So it'd be a layer of squash. She might have mixed the squash. Yeah, she did. She mixed the squash and onions with the soup and the sour cream. And it is to die for. Makes me want to grow the squash right now. Leanne said she heard that. Yes, she did. She's listening. Anyway, folks, learn to give. Last night, Leanne brought us food. She and Mark cooked pork loin on the grill, and she brought us food. Now, I gave her stuff too, so we shared. She said, I don't have any flour. So I gave her 5 pounds of flour because I bought 50 pounds of flour. And I gave her a bag of yeast because I bought 2 pounds of yeast. And gave her some of Emily's sourdough starter. And we're excited to make sourdough bread. I haven't made any yet. But when we do, we're going to have bread for everybody. As Emily says, it just keeps multiplying. So what's better than making a loaf of bread and sending it down to the neighbor's house? Yeah, send it to the neighbor's house. Anyway, here's to blessing others with your abundance. And if you have an abundance of sourdough starter, then by golly, bake something. Bake something fun. Anyway, I love you all. Make cheesecake in the Instapot. That's a good idea. Y'all are just full of wonderful ideas. My daughter-in-law's been making, she's about done with sourdough bread, but you know, this sourdough starter, it's getting all bubbly and nice, and I think tomorrow I'll be baking bread. Yeah, I think I will. I love you all. I'll see you later. And don't forget to bless others. Because when you continually give, you will continually have. I have a testimonial. You have to listen to the Holy Spirit. This is one of the things that keeps me going, you know. But many years ago, I may have told you this story, but I was on a plane, and we had to catch a plane at 6 a.m. And Michelle, she didn't do well at 6 a.m. She was a night owl, and she didn't do well at 6 a.m. But I'm the one that bought the plane tickets. If Michelle had bought them, she'd have probably got fired. But we left off at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I always I have a secret stash of $100 bill somewhere, you know, in my purse or someplace. And I usually don't have a whole lot of cash on me, but this time we were going on a trip, and we were going to St. George. So we were going to see Eric and his mom. And we were headed to St. George for an event, and the flight attendant was amazing. He could have been a stand-up comedian. And his name was George. I'll never forget it. His name was George. And he made me laugh. And I'm thinking, you know, I need to tip this man. He made me laugh. He made a 45-minute flight just go by like that. So I reached into my pocketbook, and I got the $100 bill. And as we left the plane in Atlanta, I stuck the $100 bill in his pocket. And I told Michelle as we got off the plane that I wanted to send a letter to the CEO of Delta Airlines to tell him what a great employee George was, and how he made our flight, which was miserable at 6 a.m., an amazing flight. Well, by the time we got to St. George, we had to fly to Salt Lake City and change planes, and then take another plane to St. George in southern Utah. As soon as we get off the plane, my sister Patty calls me, and she says, "What did you do?" And I'm saying, I didn't do anything, because I'd forgot about it. Totally forgot about it. He said, yes. She said, "Yes, ma'am, I know you've done something." And I said, "How?" She said, "We got a testimonial. And it's from a flybaby who's a flight attendant." And then I remembered what I had done. I said, "Well, read it to me." And she read it to me. Well, come to find out, at church on Sunday, and this was bright and early on a Monday morning, or it might have been a Wednesday that we took the flight. The testimonial read that at church on Sunday, he had given every dime he had for Bibles in a third world country. to raise money for Bibles in a third world country. And he said, I didn't know how I was going to eat all week doing my flights back and forth between the routes we had to take. I didn't know how I was going to eat. And he said, I got $100 tip this morning. I never get tips. I got $100 tip. And that was more than enough to feed me for the rest of the week. I didn't plan to do that. I'd never done that before. But the Holy Spirit led me to do it because George had given all he had. He had given all he had. And the Holy Spirit led me to bless him. To bless him. So you never know what's going to come back to you. It's a great story for us to learn from. Not because I gave the man $100, but because he listened to the Holy Spirit. And I listened to the Holy Spirit that said, yeah, put a $100 bill in his pocket. Put it in his pocket. So you can't not listen to the Holy Spirit. When you hear that little voice that tells you to do something, you got to do it, or you're not going to hear the little voice anymore. It's the same thing with being getting that gut feeling that something's not right, and that something's not down that alley or whatever. When you get that feeling, you got to listen to it. You got to listen to it. That's the Holy Spirit guiding you, that overwhelming feeling. Now, I had told stories about giving and being blessed tenfold in the past, and we had a flybaby who'd gone through a bad hurricane, and they'd lost just about everything they had, and her husband had lost his tools. And she had told him about the giving and how people are blessed when they give. Well, we had a flybaby who had lost everything in a fire, and we were raising money for her. This was early on. We didn't have hardly about 1,000 members, I guess. And she told her husband about it, that she was writing a check to send. And you know what he did? He added a zero to what she was giving. He added a zero. And within a month, he had gotten a check for the amount of the tools he had lost in the hurricane. He had gotten a check for 10 times what he had written that check for to help that flybaby. So when you give, not because God's going to give you something in return, when you give out of the goodness in your heart, it's going to come back to you. It really is. It's going to come back to you. So don't ever ignore, don't ever procrastinate when you hear the Holy Spirit urging you to do something. Whether it's that person standing on the side of the road with a sign that says, I'm hungry, Yeah, they may be professional people begging, but that's not for you to say. You're not the judge. You will be blessed if you give out of the goodness of your heart. And it's an amazing life you live. If you continually give, you will continually have. And it is the best way in the world to live, because God blesses you when you bless others. So let's get the clutter out of our house. Let's take care of the things that we need to take care of. Let's stop procrastinating. Let's make that extra meatloaf or that extra loaf of bread, and let's bless someone else with our abundance. And we're going to be blessed in return. I love you all. I'll see you in the morning. And tomorrow is question and answer day. So let's get our questions in. Liz will make a thread for y'all can post some questions under it, or post them right here. She'll find them. She always finds your questions. And let's have a good question and answer session tomorrow. Let's do it. Drink up, ladies and gentlemen. I saw Jay, my brother-in-law, and my son there. And thanks for sharing our video. Thanks for, somebody said something to Yahoo News, and we've had a bunch of new people join. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You are helping us to help others. You're amazing. This time of slowing down and doing the things we need to do to keep our homes going and to get our homes ready for this summer parties we're going to have. We're going to get together again, and we're going to have parties, and we're going to have fun with our neighbors, and we're going to have block parties, and we're going to have fun again. What do I put in my tea? I put tea in my tea. Hot water in my tea. I don't put anything in my tea. I like the taste of tea. I do the same thing with coffee. Yep. So thank you all for your purchases. You've kept us from having to lay people off. You've made it where we can get through this terrible mess. Our bank got everything kind of messed up with the stimulus package that we got, the payroll protection, whatever, PPP, whatever it is, that got messed up, and I think the Senate finally voted, and the House is going to vote later this week. But yeah, we're going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. And thank you, thank you, thank you. You have made it where we can keep going. Keep going, because when you continually give, you'll continually have. I give to you, and you give to me, and you give to others, and it's just this beautiful circle of love and life. And it's wonderful when you just give out of the abundance in your heart, out of the joy and the love that you have. And I don't even know what I've said. My sister Patty will have to tell me afterwards. I love you all. I'll see you later. Bye.